Hello and welcome to the first of my NFL fantasy videos. I drafted my team last night, so I just thought I would start off by showing you my team, and then we'll talk about the competition going ahead. So I started off then. My first pick, it's a 14 team league, so I was picked 11th. So I was the fourth last pick in the first round. Obviously, quite a few of the top players had already gone. Um, you can see most of that here. So the first round, McCaffrey, Barkley, Kamara, Henry, Thomas, Jackson, Mahomes, Edwards-Helaire, Elliott, Cook, and then eventually I got the pick and I went for Austin Eckler um, of the LA Chargers running back. So that was my first pick. Over the last while now, I've been an NFL fan for about, must be close 15, 20 years. I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, as you can probably tell by the team name, the Carnlough Eagles, after the village where I live, and the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously. So going back into it then, over the last couple of years, I have drifted away a wee bit from the NFL. It's pretty much the only game I'll watch at the weekend is the Eagles. So some of these guys, to be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure how good they are at the minute. But I used a lot of the average draft pick and the NFL rankings and stuff to see, how it was going. So hopefully I've done a good job. Brutally honest, I'm not that familiar with this guy Eckler. But just having a look at the stats, how he done last season and stuff, he looked like a good selection and probably about the best that was on the board. I should also state that the league's a keeper league, so there's some of the guys have gone for quite younger players and some are more veterans, but I'm having a go at. Obviously, we'll worry about next season when we get there. So round two, Julio Jones, he's a guy I am familiar with. Falcons receiver, 18th overall for me in this draft. So I was happy to get him. I think he's a good player. I always like to go running back and a receiver. I know a lot of people are kind of like looking at it and always go for running backs at the start, but I thought that it might pay off to take maybe the third or fourth best receiver on the board rather than like the 10th best running back. So I went with that. Similar logic used in my third selection, where I thought it would be better to take a high ranking quarterback. So I went for Deshaun Watson of the Houston Texans. So again, I just thought that it was probably a better idea to select there. So on further down, Allen Robinson, wide receiver, Chicago Bears. And then again another wide receiver then, Tyler Lockett. I feel like I've gone heavy on wide receivers here, with 3 of my first 5 picks being receivers, but we'll see how obviously that works out. But it just felt like they were the best players on the board at the time when I was drafting. Tight end, I was really close to getting. I kind of like was eyeing up around this point. Gronkowski. I started to think, I've been reading a wee bit about, like, he's doing good, he's doing well at the Bucks, but I think I'll just double check it here. But I think Gronk went a couple of picks before I got there. Where is he? Was it the third or fourth? What round was that? Fourth or fifth? Sixth? Must have been the 6th round. It was either the end of the 6th round. Let me see, Gronk. Yeah, Gronk went 69, and I picked my tight end just after that. I think was it 72. I picked my tight end. 69, 74. Sorry, yeah, Hunter Henry of the Los Angeles Chargers. So I have a couple of Chargers there at the moment. I went then my next running back. So I was at this point I was looking at and I was kind of thinking, right, I'm going to probably have to need to start picking up some running backs here. And at that point, the best running back on the board was James White. Now I took him 95. He's probably not supposed to be maybe drafted until a wee bit after that. but I felt like we were pretty deep into running backs for this stage, and I sort of thought obviously it's you need two running backs, three wide receivers, a tight end, and then either a running back, a receiver, or a tight end as your flex guy. So I felt like I needed to get a running back, and White was the one. So next up, I started seeing a couple of defenses being picked, and I felt like I would go for the 49ers. So strong team, obviously, strong defense. So hopefully that pays off for me. 9 and 10, both New Orleans Saints. Um, Jared Cook at tight end. Um, I know obviously I've already got a tight end further up, but as it, obviously you can play with the flex, so I thought it a good option to take him. Um, Drew Brees, obviously Drew Brees probably isn't a great one to be in like a dynasty or um a long draft, but I thought he's a good option to have. Watson will probably be my number one quarterback, but I thought I would give him an opportunity to see. After that, I went for Adrian Peterson, another veteran, obviously, but at that stage, then I was just sort of looking for some depth, and I thought he was the next best on the board. So after that, another veteran by now, Deshaun Jackson from my Eagles. Um, cool story or not, I used to have a Deshaun Jackson jersey from his first spell at the Eagles, but whenever he left and went to the Washington Redskins, I actually threw it out, which was potentially quite childish, but I don't care. So round 13. By this stage, I was keeping an eye, sort of as I was picking like sort of like players for like probably bench players. By this stage, I was keeping an eye to see when everyone else was starting to pick kickers because I kind of thought that obviously every week there's 32 kickers are playing at least, depending obviously some of them might end up getting injured or something. So maybe you could end up with 33, 34 if somebody gets injured during the game. But I was kind of keeping an eye on it just to wait and see, and I was always kind of careful to see. Right, there's kickers now are starting to get picked, so I want to start taking one now rather than before I got down into the bottom ones. But we got through to the 13th round before I started to see a lot of kickers being picked and didn't want to be left with just the sort of the poorer players in the league. So I went for Matt Prater of the Detroit Lions with the 179th pick. By this stage then I wanted another defense and then just somebody that I could potentially put in as my flex. So by this time I'm hoping for a new purple people eaters with the Minnesota Vikings, hoping we can get a rerun of that famous team. So I went with the Vikings, so that leaves me with the Vikings and the 49ers. So we'll see how that goes. Then by the stage I got to my 15th pick, I just basically said, right, I'm just taking whoever the highest skill player is on the board, and it just happened to be Tony Pollard. So running back Dallas, obviously, Ezekiel Elliott will be the main guy, but I'll give this Pollard guy a look and see. I think sort of reading about him last night, he's a second year pro, I think. They were talking that he might get some more action this year, so hopefully he does, and hopefully that pick works out for me. So we'll just have a wee look then at my team, see what they're selecting. Actually, sorry, I've got something I want to do first before we look at that. So we'll go back to league and draft recap, and they give you like a wee recap of like how good your draft was. So like they actually seem to like think my draft was really good. A plus, projecting a 12-2 record for me and a second overall finish. Ultimately, all I really want to do is make the playoffs. There was supposed to be 16 in the league, but 2 dropped out quite late, so I ended up going with 14, which obviously is not an ideal number. So I think it seems that there's 2, 3-man divisions and 2 4-man. So I'm not sure whether it's overall or what. I haven't looked into the settings too much. The guy that set it up obviously has done all that. But they're projecting 12-2. So ultimately, if you get in, I think it's 8 teams are going into the playoffs out of the 14. So you've more than a 50% of making the playoffs. Ultimately, whenever you get the week 15, 16, 17, I always find that the big fault with fantasy is the teams that are doing well. By the time you get to week 16, week 17, the guys that have got you there are often, you know, doing well in their own individual teams, and are possibly, preparing for the playoffs and skipping weeks. Which incidentally I'd say reminds me of there was one year I'd rode Aaron Rodgers all the way right to the final, and it was week 17, and the Packers were through. Um, the Packers were through, were in the playoffs, and they rested Rodgers. I always remember it was a game against the Lions, and the guy that came in, I think his name was Flynn. I think it was Flynn, if I remember right. But him and Stafford at the Lions basically just had a complete and utter shootout. And because Rodgers had been in my team all year, and I kind of knew that he wasn't going to be playing, I drafted the guy Flynn. I brought him in off free agency or waivers, whatever it was at the time, and he had a great game, and I ended up actually the only time I've ever won one of these leagues. Um, so yeah, that was obviously a happy story, a happy time. So just a quick look then. They seem to be they're really bigging up my group of receivers, which I suppose whenever I spent so high on them, it's probably not a surprise. Personally, I think I'm weak at running back, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on that over free agency and trades and stuff, and see if I can maybe strengthen a wee bit there. But they're saying I've got a 99% chance of making the playoffs, 23.9% to make the championship game, and 12% to win it. So we'll see how that works out over the season. But obviously then this week's game, obviously at the minute I don't really have an awful lot to go on, just purely because I'm a wee bit out of touch with my NFL, and I'm a wee bit out of touch with the NFL in recent times, and there's been no action so far, so I can't really sort of like look and see who's doing well, who's not doing well for me. So the big decision I'm going to have to make this week is, do I go with Deshaun Watson or Drew Brees? I'm going to have to make that imminently, because Houston start off at Kansas City tonight. I'm thinking I might go with Drew Brees, just purely because obviously the Chiefs are defending champions. It's going to be a hard game for Houston to start. Tampa Bay, I know they've obviously brought in a lot of guys on their offensive side with Gronk and Brady and all that. So I might have to have a wee look and see what they've been like defensively over the last couple of years. And I'm thinking at the minute I'm going to go with Drew Brees. Although obviously you know how it is in fantasy, these things can run up to the last minute and you can make a quick change all of a sudden. But I'll do another video next week, obviously, and bring results and stuff. So the person I'm playing this week, let me see what my projections are. My projection is, at the minute, does it give you a total? It doesn't give you a total, I don't think. No, it doesn't give you a total, but I know I was looking on mobile earlier and it's projecting that I should beat this guy. The Supersonic 49ers, that's how we look at his team anyway, and see what he's got. Aaron Rodgers, Alvin Kamara, Marlon Mack, Keenan Allen, Sterling Shepard, Michael Gallup, Austin Hooper, Juju Smith-Schuster, Cam Akers, Kendrick Bourne, Chase Claypool, T. Higgins, Jack Doyle. Well, he's got the Kansas City defense tonight, so it's quite interesting. I'm just looking at his team. He's obviously gone for all skill backups. He doesn't have a backup quarterback. Obviously, that's fine because Aaron Rodgers, is in the team. But obviously, whenever it comes to their bye week, he's going to have to think about that. See how that goes. But obviously, week one, and me being so out of touch with things, I don't really know how it's going to go. This might be the place here. You get the projections. Here we go. Here's the projections. So yeah, so they're projecting that the Supersonic 49ers are going to get 128.18, and that the Carnlough Eagles are going to get 146.21. Obviously, I hope the Carnlough Eagles do the business, but I will obviously have to keep an eye on it. And as I say, I'm going to have to do a wee bit of studying about this Drew Brees and Deshaun Watson, isn't it? You call him? Yeah, so I'm going to have to do a wee bit of studying about that. The projections are quite close. 24.43 for Watson and 23.85. So if it's between 0.6, I'll have a wee look at that just and study it and make sure that hopefully make the right decision. But obviously I'll update that next week. But for now, that's all I have at the minute. But give the channel a like, give the video a like, give the channel a subscribe. And my intention is going to be to do a couple of videos every week. Maybe like looking at waiver wires and stuff, and as a look at players that I might be tempted to update my team with. So thanks for watching, and for now that's all I have, and I'll be back next week. Thank you.